Storm's over, rain gone. Storm's over.
Hello friends, welcome to another zombie preparedness. Today we're out on location here at the Woodside Farm Creamery in Newcastle, Delaware. And well, actually I guess this is more like Hocassin, Delaware. Anyway, off to the behind me here we're got a stand of some Wintercress, and so we're going to go and seek that out. And as an edible plant, this is a nice find. It comes out this time of year, late April, early May, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, and we'll harvest some, take it home, and I think we're going to have a little bit of Wintercress for supper tonight. Alright, we'll see you out there in the field. So this is our quarry today. This is Wintercress. I'm going to look at this carefully and see some of the features involved. We've got the immature florets here. Notice they look kind of like little broccolis. Nice close-up of the leaf. See the overall structure of the plant. Grows up in sprays. We have a central rosette, and notice the ribbing on the stem. So this plant often gets confused with wild mustard. They belong to the same order, which is exactly the same order as the cultivars we know as broccoli and cabbage and kale. So what's that? We're going to go down in the field. Can we see all the way out there? We're going to go further out there in the field and see if we can get some pictures of the blooms. But this one was immature, so we stopped right here to see this one. So we made it out here into the hayfield, and here is a nice sample of Wintercress. Actually, this one might be mustard. Let me break off one of the leaves here and show you how this plant differs. That's a very different leaf from what we saw earlier. I'll get one of those leaves and show them side by side. So, very different plant here. I'm going to harvest some of this and see if there's other Wintercress around here. Alright, so we found a Wintercress here. We got those particular leaves. Now, typical of this family is the Cruciform Flower. It's got 4 petals. That's called a Cruciform Flower, and that's typical of all the members of the order of plants. I can't pronounce that name, so I'm going to put that up in text here. This is another plant here. This is reminiscent of peppergrass that I encountered in Texas, but this is definitely not peppergrass. Just kind of looks like it. So all the rest of the yellow flowers out here are probably a Wintercress also, but I'm not certain. There are some similarities in the leaves and some differences. The stems are the same, the florets are the same, the flowers are cruciform also, but that's got that different leaf. So I'm going to do some harvesting. We'll see you back in the laboratory. So we're back at the laboratory, and here we're going to examine the Wintercress leaves. This is a leaf from the base of the plant. Notice we have the stepping lateral, I'm not sure what you call those parts of the leaf. It's a compound leaf. And then we have this rounded shape. Now this is a leaf from a midsection of the stem. And I should say these are all leaves from the immature plant we saw in the field. And notice we have the asymmetrical lateral lobes and a nice shape like that. And then this is from the same plant with a floret at the base of it. So we have sections here at the bottom, somewhat symmetrical here, but then up again we get asymmetrical. So now we're going to look at the other plant that I wasn't sure was Wintercress, and look at the leaves from the same parts of the plant, and we see that this leaf is very much the same, with the asymmetrical lattice of lobes down at the base of the stem, and then up mid-stem we have these lobes, again asymmetrical. These look like they're very close to symmetrical, but they're not at the same place on the main vein of that leaf. So then we have a kind of a palm shape on this leaf. And then again, here we are up with a floret and a similar structure with the lobes down at the bottom, but still this palmate form on the leaf. So now let's put them together and see how very similar they are. This has these indentations, and this sort of has the indentations in the same places. Not quite the same. Very similar. That's the leaves from the base of the plant. So now let's look at the leaves from mid-stem. And these are very similar. You got 1, 2, 3 lobes, 1, 2, 3, 4 lobes. So there's a big difference there. I might not have pinched this one off as cleanly, so I'll have to revisit that. But here we've got those indentations in a similar pattern, and very close. See the similarities here, and this lobe and that lobe. So very similar but not the same. And now at the floret, and very different. This one has the same shape as its midstem leaf, and this one has the same shape of its midstem leaf, but they're very different. Have two equal lobes here, two equal lobes here, 1, 2, 1, and is it in there? No. 1, 2, and 1. Quite different. The florets are very similar. This is a more mature floret, and this is a very immature floret. So I'll have to research that a little bit more and see if those are the same plant. So for the purposes of tonight, since this leaf shape is consistent with the drawings I've had that clearly identify this plant as Wintercress, that's the one we're going to eat tonight. Alright, so we're here in the laboratory. I got a nice little bowl of florets. Now, when you're testing unknown plants for edibility, and this is still essentially unknown to me, it really does have all the markings of the plant that I went hunting for. But when you test it, you want to test individual parts of the plant one at a time, and that means that tonight I'm testing the florets, and I'm going to see how they taste, and I'm going to eat a small amount, and after a few hours, if I'm not sick, then I can consider it edible. Yeah, it's a little bit risky. I've got the whole plant, I've got the leaf samples and everything, so that if anything goes wrong and I have to run off to the hospital, God forfend, then yeah, they've got the whole thing for toxicology's sake. Okay, so the first test is to take a little piece of the raw floret and eat it up. Now I've already done this, and so I know it's at least this safe, and so here we go. So the flower doesn't have very much flavor itself. The stem tastes a bit like dandelion leaf that's a little bit old. So, alright, I'm going to cook some of this up and have a small amount for test. Now, if after a couple of hours the first few bites are okay, then the next step of the process is to eat a reasonable amount and see how that goes. And then once you know what you got, you can deem it edible or not. Some of the things that you want to look for when you're taste testing is, does it have a peppery taste? Does it have a very bitter taste? These are not, universals. Old dandelion leaves are certainly edible, but they just don't taste very well. Kind of the same thing I've got going on with these stems. So, I'm going to get set up to do some cooking. So the first thing I'm going to do here is cook up some egg noodles, and so I want to have something to have my Wintercress on, and that's going to be like that. I'm going to do basically a boil for the florets. Kind of untraditionally, I'm not going to do them in a big pot like I would for my egg noodles. So while things are warming up here, let's go look at some pictures and see what the experts say about Wintercress and its family. Okay, so we're back from looking at those pictures, and we got the egg noodles just about cooking. We've got the temperature up on the saute pan here. Maybe a half a cup of water in there. I don't really measure, so when I'm cooking at home, that's maybe a tablespoon of vegetable oil, and we're getting up to a nice boil there. The egg noodles are just about done. So we're just going to toss these in here, and we're going to essentially blanch them. You know what? If I hadn't put that oil in, could have tested for saponins. But I did. Ooh. Z-Man hates modern packaging. Not only did it have a safety seal on the outside, but look, it's got one on the inside. Give it just a little shake of soy sauce. Yeah, to give it some salt and a little bit of other flavor. While that's cooking, get the egg noodles off. I don't want to rinse the egg noodles. I like to have that starch on there. Do not know where my slotted spoon is. Yeah, cooking really changes the flavor. That dandelion taste is entirely gone. And I'd say this has a flavor similar to broccoli, which, considering it's of that family, that's not surprising, is it? A fairly appealing dish. So tomorrow night we'll do the leaves, but for now, just remember, folks, the knowledge you carry in your head, it weighs nothing. It takes up no space in your bag. Thanks for watching.
Storm's over. Rain gone. Storm's over.